This podcast is brought to you by Legend Comics and Coffee in scenic downtown Benson. Check out their new location. It's gorgeous. And by listeners like you. You can click on donate on twoheadednerd.com or head to patreon.com/twoheadednerd and become a monthly supporter.
Our story this week picks up where we left off last week.
Broadcasting from the ZIGGURAT at Omaha in romantic caverns deep below the sensuous metro area.
Gross!
It's our pleasure to welcome you to episode 729 of the Two-Headed Nerd Comic Book Podcast. I'm your head number one, the internet's Joe Patrick.
And I'm your head number two. My name is Matt Baum. It's time for another back issue show, and this time, our sentient Cosmic Longbox has us reading, discussing 8 classic comics based on a theme as always. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, so the CLB wants us to dish on the many loves of Matt Murdock, Daredevil himself, and pick which one of these ladies is best suited for the man without fear. We got a fun game for that later.
Yeah, fun. Boy. After that, we'll set you up with our must-read picks for next week's new comics. But now, while Matt and I aren't couples therapists, that won't stop us from playing a two-headed one on the internet. It's back issue review time in the ZIGGURAT.
While Daredevil might be the man without fear, he's got a serious weakness for the babes. Unfortunately, a mixture of Catholic guilt, social justice warrior philosophy, and superhero responsibility seems to ruin his healthiest relationships and make him fall even deeper in love with just about every hot woman out there, but especially the ladies who try to kill him. The only thing you can bet on with a Matt Murdock dating experience is it's going to be complicated. And today we're looking at 8 issues featuring 8 lovely, scary, innocent, and sometimes downright psychotic ladies who hooked up with Daredevil. Joe Patrick, why don't you start us off, sweetheart?
I will. I mean, so he's a social justice warrior in a good way. We're not using that as a pejorative.
No,
he fights for social
he's
justice.
truly a social justice warrior.
Okay, but you know that term's like a dog whistle for shitheads.
Well,
right?
fuck them. We're not broadcasting for them.
Yeah, okay. No shitheads allowed. As Matt said, we're starting things off here with Daredevil 57. This is from Marvel Comics. It's from 1969. It's written by Roy Thomas, with pencils by Gene Colan, inks by Sid Shores, colors by ... The internet doesn't even know. Somebody on the internet
Could
knows,
be
but
anybody.
It could literally be anyone. Letters by Artie Simek. It's got a cover price of 15 cents. Its current value, it's about $120 ungraded, or for a CGC 9.6, it'll run you about $450. Fun fact about Artie Simek. He was one of the creators whose names were taken to create the fake creator of the century.
Oh, really?
Joe Rosen and Artie Simek became Artie Rosen. Yeah.
Fair enough.
There you go. Fun fact about Artie Simek.
Still Jewish. All 3 of them.
Oh, hey. Here is your synopsis. This is, you know what? We started writing these so long ago that I have no idea. I think this might be from Marvel.com. The search for Karen Page's father comes to a shocking end. The identity Daredevil has fought to keep secret is finally revealed. Matt Murdock introduced as the man without fear to the most important woman in his life. If there's one woman that can give Elektra a run for her money as Matt Murdock's greatest love, it's Karen Page. Karen's been there since the beginning, working as a secretary for the Nelson and Murdock law firm as far back as Daredevil #1. But after that innocent first appearance, Karen's life became a roller coaster of betrayal and death.
I think it's safe, like at this point, whenever we say Karen Page, we should say poor Karen Page.
Poor Karen Page. Yeah.
Like, man, you're going to hear.
You got to say it with a sigh in your voice. Like, poor Karen Page. This is not Karen's first appearance, because in her first appearance, it was Silver Age fun, good times. And what's the fun in that?
Yeah.
This story is the finale of a saga where Karen's dad was suspected of being a villain called Death's Head. No relation.
Not that Death's Head.
Right. This version of Death's Head was a lunatic dressed like a mummy with a bejeweled skull.
Do you know how badly I wish they thought that Karen's dad was giant space bounty hunter Death's Head?
Was Death's Head?
It's like, oh shit, Daddy's your dad?
That explains why Karen Page is like 11 feet tall.
Yeah. I mean, like, she's very tall.
I always wondered.
She's a lanky, she's a tall glass of water. You know? Maybe that's where she got it.
Apparently this dude was so brilliant. Spoiler alert. Yeah, it's Karen's dad. It's the mystery at first, but we all know it's true. Apparently this dude was so brilliant that he not only created a devastating weapon called the Cobalt Bomb, but some sort of quote unquote treatment that made shit like his horse's skin and saddle invisible. Unfortunately, all that cobalt radiation went to his brain and a pretty terrible supervillain was born. Seriously, you have invented a chemical that turns things invisible.
Well, no.
What's your complaint?
Not completely invisible. We can see the horse's skeleton. It's like,
well, okay, but
you created something
the
that
saddle is invisible.
The saddle's invisible. I don't know why, but it like creates an X-ray of living things just out in the real world to everyone.
You know what? Believe it or not, the exact like specs of the effects of this treatment are not really addressed in this story.
Yeah, they didn't flesh it out.
They're just like, yeah, it's a treatment. It makes things invisible.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, if you think about it too hard.
Yeah, don't think about it at all.
What is this doing? You know? I will say, I love this dude's costume. It is rad.
No, it is not rad. It's
so
terrible.
Bonkers.
Oh, God, he looks so stupid.
Oh, he looks so scary. This panel where he's like, I'm free. And he's got, like, the green eyes and the mask.
I mean, the weird metal skull, like the Day of the Dead kind of, like, weird skull is kind of cool. But
it's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. The dialogue in this issue is textbook soul pain. Now, that is a term that Matt and I know. It's kind of an inside joke amongst our old Krypton Comics pals, but it is an actual line of dialogue from, I believe, Daredevil 100, where the dialogue is so freaking cheesy, and it says something to the effect of, only now does Matt Murdock truly understand the meaning of soul pain. So when we say soul pain, that's what we mean.
I just keep thinking of the Soul Train theme song.
The Soul Train, yeah, it's classic Soul Train. Everything is way too dramatic, and Daredevil makes terrible jokes nonstop. Foggy Nelson talks like a character from a 1940s musical, but it is definitely a hallmark of this era in Dee Dee's life. I mean, this is how Daredevil was.
This is how Daredevil kind of always was, except for maybe like the first 5 issues, right?
Until the late 70s.
He was like fun-loving.
No. Silver Age Daredevil was the same.
Yeah. He was like fun-loving.
Like goofy.
He was like fun-loving Daredevil, and then something happened where they were like, this comic book isn't selling. We need to make this way more soap opera dramatic.
Yes, right. It's true. Even with this absolutely terrible Death's Head design, sorry, Matt.
Oh, I love it.
The art by Gene Colan is incredible. Like, no surprise there. It's Gene Colan. The guy's a legend.
Colan's incredible. And yeah, I agree. The design is terrible, but it's one of those things that like is so terrible that it crosses into genius.
Does it? Not only is Gene Colan a legend, he is a legendary Daredevil artist, like specifically. Yeah. His run on Daredevil is celebrated. I mean, he's a legendary artist of many things, but specifically Daredevil. The biggest development of the issue is that Daredevil reveals his true identity to Karen. Thomas and Colan delivered the scene with all the sincerity and pathos it deserves. I actually thought that scene was really well done.
Yeah, it was well done.
There are definitely better Karen Page stories out there, but this is a big moment in her relationship with Matt Murdock. I'm going to give this a skim it because I don't love the story.
It's a skim it. There's no question. This is like definitely a skim it. So it is a good story to like start to build on why Karen is so screwed up. Like, it's not just like...
Sure, yeah. It's Karen's dad is a disgraced businessman turned supervillain.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to mess any girl up, sure.
And also, her boyfriend is secretly a crime-busting vigilante.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to drive any girl
nuts. Plays emotional games with everybody he meets.
Absolutely. So, and, like, maybe that's why she starts, I don't know, taking heroin later. But it's a whole...
Yeah, becomes a prostitute and does porn, you know?
Yeah. Karen is a rough one, for sure. Yeah. Man.
Poor Karen.
Yeah. Karen is the one, like, if you're like, so there's going to be a theme in Mall Mine that's like, she's the one that got away, or she's the one. I'm going to say, Karen is the one you should have been fucking nicer to, dude. My God. Like, Karen she's broken on an emotional level.
Right. And there are great Karen Page stories from later on, like after Born Again. Like, the big defining Karen Page moment is from the stuff in Daredevil Born Again, where it's like, yeah, she got hooked up with the wrong crowd. She ended up hooked on crack or heroin or whatever.
I'm surprised you didn't do one of those.
Well, and I'll touch on that here in a second. And then she sells Matt's secret identity to somebody for like a score of drugs, and to score drugs.
Gotta get high, bro.
Gotta get high. Yeah. And then it gets to the Kingpin because of obviously. And but she recovers from that. She and Matt reconcile. And there are great stories featuring Karen after she kind of picks up the pieces of her life. But this was a pretty big moment in their relationship. Like you said, it kind of set the trajectory for where her life will go
definitely,
from here.
Definitely.
And the reason I didn't pick the issue where, she gets hooked up, you know what? That scene in Born Again is actually very minor. She's only in it for a couple panels. It's just like this junkie Karen.
That's true.
Like she's barely in it. And then I didn't want it's very easy when this is the theme to pick nothing but issues where the girlfriend dies. And I didn't want that to be the case.
Well, there's a recurring theme there, but we'll get to it.
I did my best.
Let's talk about, I would argue, Daredevil. I was going to say most dangerous girlfriend. Let's go with hottest. I think Elektra's probably
he
right?
dated Typhoid Mare.
Yeah, that's why I'm not saying most dangerous. We'll get there.
Elektra can be reasoned with.
I'm going to say she's the hottest, though, right? This is Daredevil.
For sure.
Daredevil 168 from Marvel, 1980. Unslabbed, it's going to run you $180. CGC 9.8, $2,600. One just sold for not too long ago. So,
well, a 9.8's,
Yeah, Elektra's hot, though, Written and drawn by Frank Miller, inks by Klaus Janson, colors by D.R. Martin, and letters by Joe Rosen.
Hey, the other half of the Century guy.
There you go. Serendipity, huh? All right.
Yeah.
Here's your Solidus. I think I wrote this. Here's your setup. I wrote this. This is the first appearance of Elektra. Frank Miller introduces fans to Daredevil's first love, Elektra Nachios.
Chronologically.
Yeah. A gorgeous Greek student who met a young Matt Murdock in law school and fell in love. Years later, Elektra has reappeared, and her and Daredevil are tracking the same international criminal. So there's like the past, the present thing going on. It's very quick, very Tarantino. It's been way too long since I read this comic, and I totally forgot that when Elektra met Matt, like in this comic, she's just this like sweet, fragile flower, like nice little law school girl.
I mean, she knows like martial arts and stuff, but she's certainly not.
I mean, I suppose, but like she's not Elektra Assassin. I mean,
certainly not. Yeah. No. Believe it or not, I had actually never read this before.
Okay, so I'm going to admit to not reading something a little bit here that's going to shock you. So
I'm okay. I had never read, like, obviously I've read like the Death of Elektra and all kinds of Elektra stuff, but I have never read her first appearance before. So yeah, this was new to me.
I own a pretty nice copy of this, just saying.
I mean, her origin is recapped in like the 90s thing.
Her origin is recapped like 2,000 times.
The Man Without Fear by Miller and John Romita Jr. Excellent.
There's
By
so
the way, it's
many,
like a Daredevil year one kind of thing. It's
there's
great.
so many flashbacks of her origin and Matt trying to save her from the international terrorists. Her father is accidentally killed by police at some point, and I'm not really sure where it starts, but like she ends up blaming Matt for Dad's death.
Yeah, that seems familiar to me too, and I don't know where that's coming from.
It's definitely not here.
It's not in this script. It's not in this comic. No,
Not at all.
I don't know where that idea comes from. Do you think maybe it came from like Ultimate Elektra?
No.
Ultimate Daredevil and Elektra?
No, I don't. It was before that. I mean, like Elektra Assassin and stuff. I mean, she was merged.
Are we wrong about her ever blaming him?
No, she definitely does. That full on happens. And I think it's part of Elektra Assassin. Here's the thing. Here, Elektra isn't killing anyone. You're right. She knows martial arts. She does have the size, but she's just sort of like...
They're not sharp, though.
They're not sharp, but she's hitting everybody with the back end of them for some reason.
Yeah, with the handle.
Which is the wrong way to do it. But, like, why do you have size? Maybe you'd be better off with a billy club, like Daredevil. Regardless, she is a martial arts badass. I don't think any of the assassin and the blaming Matt stuff happened until Elektra Assassin. Now, here's where I admit I have never read Elektra Assassin. Really? Oh,
neither have I.
Slack issues. We are doing this shit. Elektra Assassin. I can't believe we've both missed this. And I'll bet that solves this mystery, right? I did not like that Matt continues to call her Olive Oil as a nickname.
I mean, she's Greek. Get it?
I get it. First of all, problematic. Second, olive oil is not attractive.
Okay. Now, hold on. Is it problematic?
I mean, a little. It's kind of reductionist. And olive oil, Popeye's wife, you think she's hot, Joe? That is not a compliment, all right?
Hey,
not hot.
Maybe that's not what he means.
That's why Shelley Duvall played her in the movie, because they needed someone that was specifically not hot.
You don't need to be bad-mouthing Shelley Duvall.
Great actress.
Had enough problems.
I love her. Great actress. You don't have to be beautiful.
Stanley Kubrick basically drove her insane.
You don't have to be beautiful to be a good actress or a good person, Joe. So maybe that's back at you.
Yeah, I know. You've proven that many times.
Miller's art and depiction of both the way Daredevil and Elektra fight is like kick-ass. His script, probably trying a little too hard to be dramatic here. It really loses the moment when Matt and Elektra finally reunite. It just doesn't. It falls kind of flat. It's a great first appearance for Daredevil's first love, though. The bulk of Matt and Elektra's relationship plays out in high drama as Elektra gets darker and slips deeper into a role as an assassin as time goes by. Matt, of course, wants to save her. So I think she kind of becomes the first one he thought he could fix. I'm giving this a buy it.
So this is my theory. I haven't read it in many, many, many years, but I think that maybe Daredevil blaming Matt for
Elektra.
her father's death happened in... Yeah, pardon me. Yeah. Elektra blaming Matt for her father's death may have happened in Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, which was a series by Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. where he kind of reimagined.
That could be. Yeah, that could be.
Like he kind of modernized Daredevil and Daredevil's origin and Elektra's origin in their relationship.
I would have to revisit.
That's my guess, but I haven't read that in a really long time. But that sounds familiar to me. This is a buy it for me as well. I was kind of surprised that in her first appearance, she's not playing for keeps. She just
not at all
knocks dudes out.
Not at all. She's a sweetheart.
But hey, people change. People become homicidal. They get killed by supervillains and resurrected by evil ninja clans. It happens.
They blame Matt Murdock for their dad dying and go nuts. But to be fair, Matt Murdock blames Matt Murdock for a lot of stuff. So, I mean, I get it.
I mean, to be perfectly fair, it is all justified.
Yeah, Matt Murdock's guilty of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he is guilty of a lot. This is great. When I opened this up and was reminded that I'd never read it, I was kind of surprised at myself because I was like, well, of course I've read the first appearance of Elektra. And it was kind of refreshing that it was like all new to me and surprising because I did not know about this kind of phase of the character. It's very, very good. The art, of course, is excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, damn. Elektra isn't the only assassin Daredevil has dated. Hell, she ain't even the first. Next up, we're talking about Daredevil 88 from 1972.
Okay, to be fair, she is the first he dated. She's just not the only.
Chronologically,
Yeah.
but not in terms of publication.
But there's at least 3 or 4.
Yes, excellent distinction from Matt, yes. This one's written by Jerry Conway with pencils by, again, Gene Colan. Inks here are by Tom Palmer. Again, no colorist credited. Letters are by John Costa. Cover is by Gil Kane on this
colorist,
one. Yeah, dime a dozen. This one had a cover by a different artist. It's by Gil Kane. Cover price, 20 cents. Current value, about $70 ungraded. Or $250 for a 9.6 CGT.
All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Here's your synopsis. This one, again, is from Marvel.com. Kilgrave, the Purple Man, is back, and DD may never be the same again. That is, if he lives. Plus, Black Widow's secret past. I love the synopses on Marvel.com because they're all so succinct. Almost to the point of not explaining anything at all.
Well, I mean, you don't want to give it away. You know, come on.
Sure, right, yeah. This issue takes place during Daredevil's first relocation to San Francisco. He would go back during Mark Waid's run, where he shacked up with the sultry Black Widow, a.k.a. Natasha Romanova. Romanoff is just an alias. I didn't know that. I had to look it up. But yeah, Romanoff is just an alias, and that's what they call her in the movies, but her last name is Romanova, and Natasha is the informal form of Natalia. There's a little bit of a Russian for you.
Yeah, it's a code name. She's the Black Widow. She doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a real great alias, Romanova to Romanoff.
Well, you know.
The Widow first appeared in Tales of Suspense 52 in 1964, and she became a regular member of the Daredevil cast in DD 81. So just a few issues prior to this. They even changed the title of the book to Daredevil and the Black Widow for a while, and it's true. I think that Daredevil 100 we talked about earlier is a Daredevil and the Black Widow issue.
I believe it is. I believe you're right.
Natasha was originally depicted as a war orphan rescued by a man named Ivan at the siege of Stalingrad during World War II. Tasha was eventually raised as a ward of the state and trained in the art of espionage. It's more or less the same origin we know today, minus the stuff about Bucky and the Red Room that would come later. So this story was very kind of its time. Conway's story is split between a sexy 70s spy thriller and a silly superhero action comic. Yeah. Like when it opens with a car chase, and it's like, okay, what year did the French Connection come out?
Yeah.
You know, it's very like,
well, this is
70s spy movie. Cool.
It's not far removed from what we were just talking about. Like they were doing this whole like, here's
not that far
past and here's the future and you know what's going on. Like it was just, this was how they told Daredevil stories because they were so dramatic and complex. So,
yeah. Well, but I mean, on top of the spy stuff with Natasha's backstory, you've got the Purple Man.
Yeah.
Making what I think is only his second appearance. The scheming, sadistic rapist of Bendis and Maleev's alias is nowhere to be found other than similar mind control powers. This version is a classic supervillain. He's complete with a costume. He's got henchmen. He's got a flying saucer for some reason.
He's not even
I don't
purple.
really understand the Purple Man's his whole vibe is weird.
He's not even purple. You're right. He's just wearing a purple costume. But I'll tell you what. You know who stole this scene? Lily, his hot blonde bombshell girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, very Bond.
Also,
very Bond villain.
She wears a costume for no reason. She's not even a super villain. She's just his girlfriend.
Yeah, she's like a gun. She's like a gun mall.
Yeah,
right?
I love her, and she calls him Killy.
It's true.
It's like, what you gonna do, Killy?
Yeah, Killy. I know. He's got his own little mess test moniker. It's great. The dialogue here is better than in the Karen Page issue, though this is still a more lighthearted take on Daredevil. Excellent art from Gene Colan once again. This time it's inked by the great Tom Palmer, and so it's like much more moody and atmospheric. Tom Palmer is heavy inks and a lot of black.
Yeah, this comic looks kick-ass.
And so it's even though it's the same artist, it's got a different vibe because of the inker.
And you've got Gene Colan's doing all this stuff where they're like, you've got a character telling a story and his face is floating in the background. There's flames like coming around the face and like people are, you know, like in the foreground, like suffering. It's great.
Dude. It rules. I didn't appreciate Tom Palmer as a kid when he was he was inking Steve Epting on the Avengers, Steve Epting and John Buscema on the Avengers in the 80s and 90s. I didn't appreciate Tom Palmer. I was a fool.
He's a badass.
He is. The stuff with the Purple Man is ridiculous, but fun. And I was actually invested in what was going on with Natasha and the B plot. I'm giving Daredevil 88 a buy it. It's a fun read. And like, I wanted to know what's going on with section 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, that's all captivating and I'm into it, but this is sort of like, it's sort of like what happens with the Black Widow today, where she has trouble sustaining her own book, even though she's a super interesting character and they put really great writers and artists on her. So they just kind of smashed her into Daredevil and they're like, they're dating. That's dumb. Like, come on. They're a bad couple. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And they forced this so hard. I love the issue. It's a buy it. It looks great. Everything about it is great. But you can see editorial work in here. Like, we gotta pimp up the Black Widow a little bit. Get her in Daredevil's book. You know, it's selling.
I appreciate the relationship they have now as exes, because I think that's a fun dynamic,
I suppose.
And so I think that she plays off Matt. I think she plays off Matt well now that they're kind of exes and they have this history.
Yeah.
I've never read the first issue like of their budding romance, so I don't know how it started. I only know it from like this issue and the Soul Pain issue.
I just never bought that shit. I never bought that.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know.
Didn't work.
Yeah, it's a shame. And so, yeah, like, I don't think that the problem with Natasha being, not being able to sustain her own book, that's not because she can't do it. It's that the fans don't support it, even though there are so many people that claim to love Black Widow. It's like, well, then buy a Black Widow comic, you jerks.
Yeah, no, agreed.
How does a Black Widow comic by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee get canceled at like issue 10?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it's because she's always been a star on par with most of the other people in the books she's guested in. And so having her just kind of shoved to the side in this, it's not satisfying.
No. Now it's time for quite possibly Daredevil's craziest ex-girlfriend in the pages of Daredevil 254 from Marvel, 1988. $25 on sale.
I mean, probably like literally craziest.
Yeah. And
clinically.
Sadly, only $370 in CGC 9.8. That seems like a steal to me. But I guess at this time, they were printing plenty of Daredevil comics, so they're out there. This is written by Ann Nocenti, cover and art by John Romita Jr. with inks by Al Williamson, colors by Max Shield, and letters by the one and only Joe Rosen.
Dude got around in the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Here's your setup, courtesy of me. It's your first appearance of Typhoid Mary, and boy, is it a first appearance. It opens with her all spread leggy on the very first panel. Before she was dating the Kingpin and helping the X-Men fight Orcus, Mary was hired by the Kingpin to make Matt Murdock fall in love with her so she could rip his heart out. Meet
that old song and dance.
Meet Daredevil's most unstable lover yet and learn her origin in this red hot spread leggy issue. Typhoid Mary is a mutant who has two separate personalities. And this is not part of the book. This is me letting you know who she is. Mary is a sickly girl prone to epileptic seizures, and Typhoid, her other personality, is a psychotic with telekinesis, telepathy, and pyrokinesis. 3 kineses.
Seems like a bad mix. Yeah. That's too many kineses.
Later, we would learn there were other personalities too. There was Bloody Mary, Walker, and I don't even want to talk about Mutant Zero because that shit.
Zero was a mistake.
God, that was dumb.
Hated that shit.
Nocenti's run was like where I first met Daredevil. I picked it up because of the covers. John Romita Jr.'s covers were so badass. And when I met Typhoid Mary as a kid, I was terrified of this girl.
It did something to you in your downstairs parts.
Well, no. I mean, she painted her face like white. She was kind of like punk rock and weird, like half Michael Jackson, half Joan Jett. She had this bizarre dreadlock looking hair. She carried swords. She had 3 psionic abilities. As crazy as Nocenti wrote Mary, John Romita Jr. drew her like a smiling sex maniac. Although I don't know if I could call her sexy. I will say yes. She definitely stirred some weird feelings in a young Matt Mom.
Yeah. She's definitely using sex as a weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know that any rational man would look at her and go, gotta get me some of that.
Give me that. Mm-hmm. During this time, Matt had been working with like this kid who had recently been blinded, and his partner Foggy, to make things even more complex, was defending the company that blinded the kid. And he was dating Matt's ex, Gloriana O'Brien, who we're going to talk about in just a minute here. Drama. Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
Matt is the biggest dick to this kid too. There's that scene in the hospital where he's like, "Can you sense my fist? Sense it." And the kid's like, "I'm sorry. I'm just a blind kid. I'm sorry." And then he's totally like, "No, I'm sorry, Tyrone. I didn't mean to fucking threaten you by almost punching your face."
He's like trying to train this kid into having Daredevil powers as though you can just manifest them with sheer willpower.
And it's like, look, I get it. Stick was a total prick to you, dude. I get that. That doesn't mean it's healthy or okay. You know, like,
it would be like if he splashed that kid in the face with nuclear waste. Right. Is that how he went blind? Totally. Like, what the hell? What are you doing?
Like, you got to do better, Daredevil. Come on. Nascenti's Kingpin steals the whole show here, though. No fear of Mary at all. Rather, he launches a plan to use her to take down Daredevil. It sets in motion a fantastic 4-issue storyline where we get to see Matt's emotions twisted to the point of madness by Mary. I love this character.
Fights a vacuum.
Oh, yeah. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend trope taken to the extreme, and it makes her a perfect foil for both Matt and later the Kingpin. Mary was purely insane and used her telepathy to make Matt love her. So I'm not sure this even counts as a relationship. She's a fantastic character that would haunt Matt and Wilson Fisk for years to come and ends up being both of their crazy exes. But quite honestly, I don't think she needed to use her powers at all on Matt. I think she just needed to show up, treat Matt like shit.
Yeah,
kill some people, set some shit on fire, and Daredevil's like, oof, give me some. I'm giving this a buy it.
Yeah. You know what? Hey, spoilers for, I think, this week's comics. Wilson and Mary, they're back, baby. Like,
well, they had been for a while.
Well, she vanished after the attack.
Oh yeah, she left
the Hellfire Gala.
She left with the mutants.
And now she's back, and they were playing kissy face.
Oh boy.
In I think this week's X-Men.
Great idea, Wilson. How could this possibly go wrong?
Dude, I mean, come on, man. Like, you know better, right?
Right. You're supposed to be the smart one.
Hey, but you know what? Maybe she's using her mental flim-flam on him. I don't know. This issue is a buy it. I love this run unapologetically. I know that we're kind of harsh on Ann Nocenti in her later works, but this run is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's peak Romita Jr. Like, this is... chef's kiss, Romita Jr.
That hair.
And I like this era during Nocenti's run. Daredevil had like basically a whole army of street urchins. It was very Oliver Twisty kind of. This is fantastic. Typhoid Mary is weird and gross and great. This is a buy it. Oh, she wears a pink leather jacket with her name on the back of it, just in case.
And one sleeve, by the way.
Yeah,
it's got one sleeve. The other one's cut off. You know, punk rock.
She's a special girl. Well, Matt mentioned Gloriana O'Brien a few moments ago, and the time is now to discuss her. Daredevil 216 is the issue. This is from 1984. This is written by Denny O'Neil with art by David Mazzucchelli, colors by Steve Malore, letters by Joe frickin' Rosen.
He's unstoppable.
Its value, not much. $6 ungraded, $110 for a 9.8. Perfectly reasonable. It's not a key issue.
No.
Here is your synopsis from Marvel.com. The Gale does something desperate to escape prison. Is Gloriana O'Brien in trouble once again?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And who is the old woman of the beer? The IRA rises. Thanks, Marvel. Daredevil 216 is not the first Daredevil comic I ever read, but it is the second Daredevil comic I ever read. And so, Gloriana O'Brien was my first exposure to Matt Murdock's tortuous love life. Gloriana is a photographer with a side gig as an IRA sympathizer. I almost said NRA.
NRA sympathizer.
Yeah. Gloriana, a photographer with a side gig as an IRA sympathizer, first appeared in Daredevil 205, and in reality, she and Matt were barely a couple. His constant absences drove the pair apart, and she started dating Foggy Nelson instead.
Yeah, sleeping with his friend. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, later. That didn't last, of course, and she was eventually killed by a villain named Cruel, Kruel, in Daredevil 340.
I mean,
an unceremonious death for Gloriana.
340 were probably in the 90s, so Kruel.
It was definitely in the 90s.
Yeah, that tracks.
This issue blew me away as a kid. My first Daredevil comic was a Frank Miller joint, so I'd already gotten a taste of Daredevil's grim tone, but this was so dark and violent, and the art was next level gorgeous.
Yeah, man. Denny O'Neil does not get enough props for his Daredevil stuff. It's great. It's legit great.
I mean, he is a classic. Like, the guy co-created essentially the Dark Knight persona of Batman.
Yeah.
Like the version of Batman that would go on to become the definitive Batman. That Denny O'Neil did that. Stories about Ireland and the IRA were all the rage. They were only about a year out from U2's Sunday Bloody Sunday. So O'Neill's story is ripped from the headlines, as it were, even though Bloody Sunday happened.
I mean, they were
70s.
blowing up cars and shit. It was a whole, Catholics, Protestants mess up there.
His dialogue is from the Chris Claremont School of Dialect Writing, so there's absolutely no questioning which characters are Irish in this comic. The brogue is thick.
Yeah, okay, yes, but it's not as offensive as Claremont. It just isn't. Like, I'm not saying it's way
not as
better.
egregious. Like, there's a reason why they.
It's not as egregious. I'll give you that.
It's pretty bad though.
It's not great.
It's pretty thick.
How else are you going to do it? You got to do it so a kid can read it and be like, yeah, that's what Irish people sound like, From Nebraska. What do I know?
Fair enough. You know what? Good point, Matt. What did we know about Ireland in 1984?
Yeah, well, I just knew they were blowing cars up and shit. And I was like, man, that's crazy.
The plot centers around an IRA member turned traitor called the Gale, who killed Glory's father. They call her Glory for short. And went after her as well before Daredevil stopped him. Now he's on the loose and he's back on her trail.
So Irish. Glori. Glory's father. No! How dare ye?
I mean, her name is Gloriana.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. The Gale escaped from custody by basically putting himself through a laundry press. It's very gross.
Yeah.
Like, the dude is fucked up.
Like, you gotta want to get out of prison. Like,
He really wanted to kill that girl. Yeah.
And kill somebody.
I loved everything about Matt's search for Gale, which would have seemed kind of cheesy under lesser creators. Like, he meditates to get ideas.
Sure.
There's a weird flower-obsessed villain, et cetera. But O'Neil and Mazzucchelli deliver a tense sequence that makes even sitting in a dark, empty apartment exciting. Like, that whole thing where he's like, I can smell the aftershave of the guy in the next room. She's using a new sort of whatever powder in the shower.
That's Daredevil. That's Daredevil. Like, think about how hard it is to express the powers of a blind guy that sees through radar and can smell really well, and hear really well and stuff. They're nailing it here. It's excellent.
Mazzucchelli especially makes the Gale kind of scary / creepy, even though he's just a normal guy dressed like the Shadow that talks like Lucky the Leprechaun.
He's not dressed like the Shadow, Joe. He's the Shadow, Joe.
He's dressed his scarf is gray or blue instead of red. That's the only difference.
Well, Denny O'Neil did the DC Shadow stuff with Michael Kaluta, didn't he? Here, let me see real quick.
That may have been Howard Chaykin, though.
No, Denny O'Neil. He wrote the Shadow. Yeah, at DC. He wrote the Shadow with Kaluta at DC. So, I think this is him doing a thing. Like, hey, remember when I did that? That was awesome,
it's
right?
weird, though, because the Shadow and the Gale are nothing alike.
No, they just changed the color of the scarf. The Shadow is a red scarf. Gale is a blue scarf.
Yeah. Matt's fight with Gale is brief. It's one-sided, but O'Neil knows when to shut up and let the art shine. It's just a few panels of silent moments where Matt is protecting himself from a knife lunge, accidentally getting in a chokehold, smashing him with the chair. It's a very well choreographed fight for something that probably took 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The Gale's just a dude.
It's violent as hell, though. The only thing, okay, there's one part where the Gale is leaping at Daredevil and like grabbing him, and he's, wearing a trench coat, but from this angle, it looks like he's got like a dress on. Like he's Mother from Psycho, like
No, he does have a dress on.
It's not a dress.
He does have a dress on because he's disguised as the old woman.
Oh no, you're right. He is in this part. He is disguised as the old woman. So I take that back. That's right.
He's totally wearing a dress. Yeah,
Okay,
Matt Murdock
that's
beats up a guy dressed like a woman.
No, it's a super violent fight scene. It's great.
Matt's final reunion with Gloriana is beautifully poetic. It's really no wonder that I thought she was a bigger deal in the Daredevil mythos than she actually was. In reality, as I said earlier, not very.
No. And you know what? I got to admit something. As a huge of a Daredevil fan that I am, I've never read some of this. I did not know who Gloriana was. This is my...
She's a footnote, really, in Daredevil's
a footnote
lore.
At best. And later on, they don't draw her this cute. Like she gets kind of...
Well, I mean...
She gets kind of butch later.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, it's just like, for me, like, this was my first time I ever saw Daredevil with any kind of romantic relationship. I was like, oh, she's the main character. Not really.
No.
The topical nature of Daredevil 216, it's definitely dated, but I think it totally holds up thanks to a very strong story by O'Neill and phenomenal art by David Mazzucchelli. This is a huge buy it from me.
No question.
I think it's still great.
No question. Massive buy. We're going to jump way forward to meet a lady that I bet you watched on TV recently. This is Daredevil Volume 2, number 9 from Marvel, 1999. It's $120 unslabbed. Only $250 for CGC 9.8 it's selling for us.
I don't think it can't possibly be that hard to find.
That wasn't that long ago, but still, you would think with the TV, with this on Disney Plus, no bump? Really, speculators? No bump. You got to be kidding me. Come on.
I mean, who's to say?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's written by David Mack, cover by Mack, art by Joe Quesada, inks by Jimmy Palmiotti, colors by Richard Eisenove, and letters by Richard and Liz Starkings of Comic Craft. They're a couple. It's cute. Here is your setup. As Matt Murdock, okay, I didn't write this because it's in all caps. As Matt Murdock attempts to rebuild his life from the ashes of the Guardian Devil story arc, old friends and foes arrive, and when a former employee of Wilson Fisk contacts Matt, claiming to know the secret of the Fat Man's criminal empire, a new twist is added to the classic battle between Daredevil and his nemesis, Kingpin. This is your first appearance of Echo. Maya Lopez was created by Joey Q and David Mack. Kevin Smith had just ended his run, right? Bullseye killed Karen Page. It was a whole thing.
Like literally one issue. This is the next issue after.
Yeah. And so Karen, for those of you who don't know, thought she had AIDS. It was crazy. Mysterio was messing with Daredevil, made Karen think she had AIDS, made like Daredevil think he was saving some angel kid. It was a whole thing. But
yeah, it was a
that's not how she died. She didn't have AIDS, so we all settled down. We're like, all right, good. Bullseye killed her.
Yeah, killed by Bullseye.
David Mack came on as a new writer, and the Kingpin knew, of course, Matt Murdock, just losing the love of his life, Karen Page, is in desperate need of a rebound. So we meet Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo, who is not a mutant, but she does have powers just like the mutant Taskmaster, photographic reflexes that allow her to mimic any move she sees. Like we see her playing piano here. She's doing like these piano recitals for, polite society. And she's incredible because she could watch somebody else do it and then just repeat it, basically.
So this is why I think that she doesn't have powers. Because if she's not a mutant, where'd the powers come from?
This is according to Marvel, dude. I don't know what to tell you. They say she's not a mutant, but she has photographic reflexes. So it's just a thing she's got.
I understand photographic reflexes. I understand, but
I agree that I don't think it's powers. That's why I thought it was kind of bullshit. They gave her powers on the show.
You can call it photographic reflexes, and it's just a very uncanny ability.
I agree. 100%.
Like she is some sort of savant.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it's because otherwise she'd have an origin, and she doesn't really have an origin about where she got powers. Like, I've never read one.
No, she's just a badass. And I think that makes her more interesting personally. And I wish they just kind of would have stuck with that in the show.
Right. Right. Because when she's prepping to meet Matt, or at some point we see her watching like videotapes of old Captain America fights and videotapes of Bruce Lee movies. Yeah. And like, and so she's studying, doing what she has to work at it.
Yeah. Whereas like the Taskmaster, maybe it's more instant.
He sees it once, he's got it.
Yeah, he sees it and instantly he can do what you do. I don't think she's got that level. I think she's really good, but she's got to work at it, like you said.
This is what I choose to believe. Yes, I agree.
I wish they would have done that on the show. But like there is this really nice play on the idea of these two characters like overcoming their handicaps, right? Matt is blind, but he's a total badass. He's got radar. He's got heightened senses. Maya's deaf, but she's got these photographic reflexes. And so when they like fight, it becomes this dance that they're doing. Yeah. Like Matt realizes I'm not fighting her and she's not fighting me. I'm doing moves and she is responding to my moves with my moves. It's a
call and response like in a music.
And it's just a gorgeous scene. Man, it's amazing.
And then they backflip onto opposite ends of a seesaw in the park.
Doing that. No. So, of course, she's trying to kill him. Matt falls in love with her instantly.
What else is he to do?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Here, Mac lays out Echo's origin and how the Kingpin became her benefactor. Joe Q's art is crazy. This is peak Joe Q. He's mixing media with crayon drawings to tell Maya's origin, but jumping between Matt, like pining for Karen over like actual sheet music, and then switching to him flipping through the streets of New York with his Billy Club. But like something about Joe Quesada's Daredevil, the Billy Club line was like a mile long and whipped all around it. Like it was more complex than Spider-Man's webs. It was crazy. And I love it.
Also very irresponsible. Like how are you going to untangle yourself from that?
I also love it. And I got to say, the Starkings, their lettering here is absolutely incredible. This book looks so goddamn good. It's a really great intro to Echo and the idea of Echo. I will say, I think Mac is probably lifting Nascenti's Kingpin plan for Typhoid Mary a bit here, but, I'll allow it. Echo goes on to be a lot of things, including an Avenger and later a wielder of the Phoenix Force. Barf. But she was introduced as a really interesting potential villain turned love interest that could actually take care of herself, like Elektra. But she, too, is killing people. Unlike Elektra, she was working for the Kingpin. Echo may have been Matt's healthiest relationship for a minute there, but she's probably just another hot murderer that Matt thought he could save. I'm giving this a buy it.
I agree. This is a great comic. It is, and Echo is a great character, to be fair.
She's great.
Like I don't have any special like affinity for her. Like I'm not like Echo. Yeah. Okay. She's good. She's cool. But I'm not like yearning for new Echo stories. So I don't mean to be dismissive when I say that I don't care about Echo as I have in the past.
But would you say would you say that all the problems we have with Echo are because of things that Marvel did to Echo? Like after this,
I mean, made her Ronin,
right?
Made her the Phoenix, like, maybe,
or even made her an Avenger. She doesn't need to be an Avenger. That's like not even important to her character. We don't need that.
No, but I mean, look, if somebody wants to make a weird character an Avenger, if they have a case for it, then fine. But I just don't think they ever really made a case for it.
Yeah, like Wolverine and Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, or Shang-Chi during Hickman's run.
I'm fine with Shang-Chi being there.
Or
I still
Cannonball.
think
I mean,
Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Cannonball, bullshit. You're not Avengers. You don't need to be Avengers. That's dumb. You're already a thing, right?
Look, Matt, people can be more than one thing. People are complex creatures.
Oh, please.
Anyway, the art is gorgeous. And I think a lot of that is not to like take anything away from Joe Quesada, who is powerhouse. The coloring by Richard Eisenhower goes a long way to the way this book looks. He's the colorer of Wolverine Origin.
Yeah.
And like he was the first guy that I remember seeing in modern comics that did those lush kind of painted
Yeah.
colors, where the coloring was part of the back, like more than just like, here's how you tell the shapes apart.
Sure.
You know, it was a real factor. And yeah, that's why this book looks as great as it does. It's like a match made in heaven. It's a huge buy it. I really like this game. Matt, I totally did not plan to pick two comics from the same creative team twice.
4 girls that get murdered.
You know what? I guess no. To be fair, it was Gene Colan twice and David Mazzucchelli twice.
Yeah.
In this case, it's Denny O'Neil for a second time, though with the Gene Colan issues, they were different writers. I did not plan that. I apologize.
And yet another
I am talking
girlfriend,
now about Daredevil 20.
Yet another girlfriend that gets killed too. So,
well, yeah, you know.
I think you've got both the dead ones. You've had all 3 of the dead ones.
No, I mean, you got Elektra.
She's not
didn't
dead.
write about Elektra getting killed.
Elektra's back. She's running around. She's feeling much better.
Elektra's death is like one of the most famous Daredevil stories of all time.
I don't disagree. All 3 of yours are still dead, bro. Okay.
Milla is also dead.
Oh, that's right. Milla did die. Yeah. Spoiler.
So eat it.
We'll get there.
This is Daredevil 220 from 1985. This is written by Denny O'Neil with art by David Mazzucchelli. Colors here by Christy Scheel. Letters by Joe Rosen. So this is only like 4 issues later than the Gale one.
Yeah.
Cover price here is 65 cents. Current value, $6 ungraded, $85 CGC, 9.8. Again, not a key issue. Sorry, Heather Glenn fans.
I think this is another one you could call her Poor Heather Glenn.
Poor Heather. Heather Glenn, this is your synopsis from Marvel.com. Heather Glenn meets a tragic end. Spoiler alert. Leaving Matt racked in guilt.
That's never happened before. Normally he feels so good.
Guilt. Daredevil? No. But was Heather's death truly a suicide? ... Or a murder with a motive? Murdock and Nelson are back in practice trying to avenge the death of a woman who touched both their lives. Heather Glenn, who first appeared in Daredevil 126, was a former socialite, the daughter of a disgraced CEO driven to suicide by the Purple Man. She worked as a secretary for Nelson and Murdock for a while. She had a tumultuous on-again, off-again romance with Matt, as well as a wicked substance abuse problem. Foggy and Natasha tricked the couple into breaking up for good. Assholes. And Heather ended up partying with Tony Stark during his Demon in a Bottle days. She also dated some dude named Tarkington. First name Tarkington. He came back into
Fran Tarkington?
No. The guy's first name was Tarkington.
I know that, but like, why would they pick the name Tarkington as a first name?
Dude, I have no clue. I have no clue. She came back into Matt's life in this issue with tragic results.
Truly. Keep going. I got thoughts after your next thing.
Okay. Heather Glenn is a pretty well-known name in Daredevil lore. She's mentioned right up there with Karen and Elektra in the list of Daredevil's tragic loves. But I've never read any of her stories before prepping for this episode.
Heather Glenn is a goddamn mess. She is a train wreck.
She's in bad shape. Yeah.
I do not blame Foggy Natasha for like literally tricking Matt into dumping.
Well, they tricked them both. Like Black Widow writes a note to Daredevil from Heather.
Right.
And Foggy does the same from Matt.
Right.
And it's basically a Dear John letter to each one of them from the other.
Yeah, and which is like the dirtiest of tricks. You could have just been like, man, that bitch be crazy. You gotta get out of this, you know?
Well, I mean, she wasn't always as bad as this. Heather makes a drunken late night call to Matt in the middle of a complete emotional breakdown, a theme that has run through this episode.
Oh, yeah.
But Matt's been burned by her behavior before, so he's pretty harsh with her.
You know what? I'm fine with it. I'm honestly fine with it. I'm like, yeah, get away from this mess. Like, I'm sorry. You got to take care of yourself. He is Daredevil.
I mean, that's basically what he says.
Daredevil is not a goddamn therapist, and you don't want Daredevil as your therapist. All right.
Well, that part is true. When he discovers that Heather's call made him too late to save a woman from being killed by her abusive husband, Matt loses it and ignores her other calls, leading Heather to commit suicide. Like, she was legit at the end of her rope, and he just had heard it too many times before. And
well, I mean, like, look, we all grew up and had those desperate cry for help. Like, and maybe you were the desperate cry for help. You're like, if you don't love me, I swear, baby, I'll kill myself. You know, you never know. When it's
I mean,
this is not to make light of it, but I mean, come on.
No. But like, I don't put the blame on Matt necessarily, because I totally understand that that's a very real thing.
Sure.
People having the friend that's just had too many chances.
Right.
It happens, unfortunately.
To be fair, it's handled really well here. Really well.
I totally agree. So, like, he's willing to rush to her side to save her, but he's over trying to save her.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Like, he thought she was in danger.
Now,
that's why he rushed over.
Had she tried to kill him, I'll bet he never would have let this bitch go. Had she just put a gun in his face,
they'd probably be married.
Just put a gun in his face. He's yours forever.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's also a profound sense of grief that comes with Heather's death and some subsequent lashing out and jumping to rash conclusions, hence like the murder plot. All of this all of this, except for the murder plot, rang really true to me. As I said, it's very, very powerful. Once again, due to the immense talents of O'Neill and Mazzucchelli. One of O'Neill's strengths as a writer is knowing when and where dialogue should be avoided.
Yes.
Especially in little moments like Matt wearily getting out of bed and getting dressed after Heather's first call. It's like 4 perfect panels, and the emotional state is palpable.
Yeah.
He's just like, I gotta deal with
There's
this
one panel
bullshit.
that just sums it all up. He literally hangs up the phone, and the next panel is like him with his hand on his head.
His hand in his hair.
And you've all been there where you're just like, Jesus, God, am I really doing this again? It's fantastic.
I really can't say enough about the art. David Mazzucchelli is one of the all-time great comic book artists of the 80s. He's still at it today. Some years ago, well, I'm not sure what he's done lately, but some years ago, he put out a graphic novel called Asterius Polyp, and it won all the Eisners.
Yeah.
Like, the dude he can't be stopped. Daredevil 220 was my first and my last encounter with Heather Glenn. I don't really have any strong feelings about them killing off her character. I didn't have any attachment to her, but I can't deny that the creators told the hell out of the story. It is a huge buy it.
Yeah. And it's like, yes, absolutely. This is fantastic. Are they using her character as this like horrifyingly nightmare, tragic person? Yes. But guess what? That's what we come to Daredevil for. This is great.
Well,
it's a buy it.
And she was already a tragic character.
Yeah, she's a party girl that like partied too long. And here she is.
It's hard, yeah.
I don't even know where to start with Daredevil number 41, so I'm just going to go right into it. But like, I feel so bad for this character, like possibly
poor
worse
Mila
than
again.
Poor
Mila.
Like, like it's not even like poor Mila. It's like, oh God, Mila. This is Daredevil number 41 from Marvel, 2003. $7 on Slab, only $32 in CGC 9.8. Not a key.
Yeah, sorry, Mila.
Written by
Daredevil Volume 2, right? This is the second volume of Daredevil.
Yes, pardon me. Daredevil Volume 2.
I never left Volume 1, I'm sorry.
This is written by Brian Michael Bendis, cover and art by Alex May Leave, letters by Richard Starkings and Comic Craft. I don't know why Linda isn't here. Hope nothing bad happened, but is what it is. Here's your setup. Wilson Fisk has been shot, so his wife Vanessa shipped him out of the country to heal and dismantled his criminal empire to keep him safe. This left a power vacuum in the New York crime world that the Owl is trying to fill, thinking Daredevil is not going to be an issue because the Daily Globe exposed Matt Murdock as Daredevil's alter ego after a snitch named Silk tried to sell out his identity to the FBI. All this, and Matt meets the woman he will marry in a year. This is the first appearance of the one and only Mrs. Daredevil herself, fellow blind person, Mila Donovan. There were many moving parts in every issue of BMB's Daredevil. In this one alone, Matt meets Mila. He's dealing with his alter ego being outed. The Stilt Man is retiring. By the way, Mayleaf draws him to look exactly like Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's kick-ass. The Owl is moving in on New York, and Daredevil's trying to find the Owl. And of course, Foggy is paranoid as always. Rightfully so.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. I love Bendis's Owl. I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
I love slimy crime boss.
Absolutely.
Owl.
I love
So
Bendis's
great.
Foggy, because Foggy, the entire time, when I went back and read this, I was like, oh yeah, this entire time Foggy was saying like, Matt, you're going crazy. You're not acting normal. You are out of your mind, trying to warn him like you're on the verge of a breakdown. And then he has a mental breakdown. We'll get to that in a minute.
Well, yeah, you know.
The story begins with Matt meeting Mila when he saves her from being hit by a truck. It's a very simple sequence. It's like old school superhero stuff. Mila's walking with her friend, having a normal conversation, and her life is forever changed when she's saved by Daredevil. The dialogue is perfect, and it reminded me of exactly why I love this Bendis run so much. It's just simple and direct. The scene where they're like laying in the broken glass after he like swept her out of the street and they crashed through a window, and he's like, your shoulder was pierced with glass. You are going to be okay. I need you to look at me and tell me that you're all right. And she's like, what? It's perfect. Right? Same with the
liked
with Stiltman, the Stiltman scene where he comes in and he's like, look, I know you're Daredevil. You have fucked with me so many times. I quit. It's like, I don't know if this is part of it. And Matt Murdock's just like, I don't think we've met, Mr. Stiltman. And he's like, stop it.
Right. I really like Daredevil. I really love Bendis's knack for dialogue here. I know that he gets a lot of flack for some of his quirks, and it's well deserved. But something I think he excels at is the voice of the normal person.
Yes.
Like, a woman just went through a near trauma. She is freaking out. She can't see shit, by the way.
Right.
And a stranger is telling her, you've got a dagger of glass in your shoulder. It's going to be okay. Are you okay? And she doesn't know what to do.
Right.
She doesn't know what to respond. His high schooler dialogue was great in things like Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, he's very good at the normal person voice.
Yeah, the thugs walking through the alley in this one talking about like, well, you know what I think about Daredevil? And like, it's great. It sounds like some assholes just shooting the shit about Daredevil. You know?
He writes it like a movie script, almost in a sense. Like, you can hear people saying this stuff out loud.
Yes.
And there's a lot about comic book dialogue in general that would sound ridiculous if you read it out, if somebody said it out loud to you.
Totally.
But Bendis's dialogue doesn't.
Mayleaf's art was going through this particularly gritty photo referencing phase. I still love it. His fight scenes are so stiff, though. They are so stiff. Now, the realism that he brings to characters just having a conversation or walking down the street or sitting at a desk together is incredible. But the fight scenes, I have to admit, are lacking.
Yeah, I mean,
they're lacking.
Totally agree. I don't think Alex Maleev is not really an action artist. No. You know what I mean? That's not where he excels. And I could read a book about where he draws people talking all day long, every day.
Sure.
But having him draw a Stiltman kicking a guy or Gladiator shooting buzzsaws at him or whatever it is at any given issue.
Yeah.
It's
his ninja skills are,
Yeah,
So Bendis keeps the story moving with his excellent timing, ends the issue. It's just a perfect ending with Mila just sitting in her windowsill. She's looking out the window for like 2 panels, and then she just whispers the word Daredevil. And you can tell like she's in love. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. She's very smitten. She's
Yeah.
got kind of a hero worship thing going on.
Little does she know, he's going to marry her in the middle of a complete mental breakdown, which will result in her getting an annulment and later being committed to a psychiatric hospital and then dying.
Yeah, but the psychiatric thing's not her fault. Mr. Fear is involved.
No, I get it. But hey, she does get to say she was the one that got the Daredevil to say, I do. That's worth something, right?
He put a ring on it, ladies.
Mila was really different than any of other Matt's ladies because she was like purely innocent and just kind of got swept up into his madness. Everybody else, think about it. Everybody else we've talked about ties to his past, worked for him, a villain that was trying to kill him, you know, a party girl that like dated some of his friends and stuff like that. She came out of nowhere. And I'm saying maybe she is the one that he just met at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It's sad. This is a huge buy it. Huge buy it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, even Karen, who I guess is the closest, she's the closest to Mila in terms of like original innocence. She was just, you know, secretary, happy, blonde, cute, whatever. They would eventually reveal like, yeah, your dad's a super villain.
Oh, also, don't date your secretary, dude. That's inappropriate.
Yeah, right. And Mila had none of that. Mila had normal parents. She was from a loving family, and she just got done real dirty by her relationship with Daredevil. I love this comic. Bendis and Malieve's Daredevil is a near perfect run of comic books.
No argument.
It's one of the all-time great runs. I would not hesitate to recommend it to almost anyone. This is a huge buy it for me. It's very good. Mila, I'm sorry, Mila.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, Mila.
She deserves that.
Wrong place, wrong time, baby. What can I say?
Matt, the Cosmic Longbox definitely thinks Matt Murdock needs therapy now that we've discussed these 8 ladies. But more importantly, it wants to know which one of these comics you'd pick to enter the THN Permanent Collection. Let's start there. Gotta be Daredevil 41.
It's tough, but I mean, yeah. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go with Daredevil Volume 2, number 9. I'm going with the first appearance of Echo. That book, I just love Joe Cubes.
You know what?
I love Joe Cubes so much, and I loved that intro of that character so much. I think that it has to be. I think that's number 1 with a bullet. As far as key issues we're talking about here, we talked about some amazing Frank Miller issues, some amazing Denny O'Neil issues, but like those weren't necessarily big key important issues.
They were not key issues.
We were just talking about the character that was in it. So I'm going with Daredevil Volume 2, number 9.
You know what? That's fair. And I'm going to pick that as well. Like Daredevil 41 is great, but it's also like obviously 41. Well, not 41. He didn't start with issue 1, but it's many issues deep into Bendis's run. Daredevil number 9, though, first appearance of Echo. It's excellent. It's gorgeous. Yeah, I agree. Let's give it to Daredevil number 9. Secondly, I can't believe it's doing this, but the Cosmic Longbox is in a mood and it wants us to play Marry, Fuck, Kill, Redcon, the Ladies of Daredevil edition.
Well, explain that
protested.
It's adding the retcon part to our game for the comics edition. You know.
So here's what we mean by that. The retcon part is you want to change that character's story, either erase them from continuity because you don't really care, or change their story to give them a better or different ending.
Got it. Okay, so Mary, Daredevil, Mary, Typhoid Mary. You know why? You deserve it. You sick son of a bitch. You fucked up too many people. And she's probably the only girl. She's probably the only girl that can hold her own with your madness, dude. And you deserve it. So Mary, Typhoid Mary. Fuck Elektra. Of course. Elektra's hot as hell. You know you want to. Have all the sex with Elektra. I mean, I get it. But that's all it should be. Don't fall in love with Elektra, dude. That's a terrible idea. It's not going to work, okay? Retcon.
Kill.
Oh, sorry. Kill. This is tough, but I got to say, kill Echo. Kill Echo. because it was never going to work, and it went to a terrible place, and I don't care about what their character ended up by no fault of the character. It's just what happened, what Marvel did to her. Retcon.
Yeah.
Mila.
There are no judgments here. Everyone's got to be something.
Retcon,
everyone has to be one of the four things.
Yes, retcon. Poor Mila. Jesus Christ, she didn't deserve any of that. You know? Oh my!
She either should have been hit by that bus, or they never should have met at all.
I'm saying retcon it. She falls in love with Daredevil. Oh my God, she's upset, and he's like, you know what? No, I can't do that. My friend Foggy pointed out that I'm going fucking crazy. Like,
okay,
and I have to deal with my things. And she pines for him.
This is a world.
Yes,
this is the world where Matt listens to his better angels.
Yes,
he's like,
and she pines for him, and I get it, and he's the one that got away from her, and he's like, I learned my lesson. I got to do some me time and take care of me. I shouldn't be with anyone. Retcon, poor Mila. My God, that girl got a raw deal.
I mean, yeah. All right, for me, Mary. Let's see.
There's only one right answer here. It's obvious.
Well, I mean, the right answer is Karen, I think.
Yeah, because none of that terrible shit would have happened to her if you just married her and took care of her.
Well, yeah. Well, and also she was the most wholesome. His first real, at least as far as we were concerned at the time, his first love.
Not a ninja, not a KGB agent,
not an assassin, right? Yeah, so marry Karen, and I'm like, look, it's not Matt's job to save anybody. That's not what it's about. We're not talking about like women that need to be saved. That's not a man's job. No. I think that if things had worked out differently with him and Karen, her life would have been better. His life would have been better.
Literally, none of that shit would have happened to her.
Pretty much. Fuck the Black Widow, because come on.
So hot. You kidding me?
Of course you would.
Yeah, and you don't. She's like a pro. She's like, I get it. We're superheroes.
Okay. Let's not get too gross.
I say a pro, like they get the life. They're like, all right, we're doing the thing.
Well, sure, yeah. She understands the like importance of the no strings attached,
and she can detach.
She gets it.
She can do the thing. Whatever.
Yeah. She can compartmentalize.
Sure. But now I can't wait to see who you kill. You gotta kill Gloriana or Heather Glenn. Which one's it gonna be? Look, do you want me to help you here?
I think it's a toss-up, really.
I don't think it is at all.
You think kill Heather? I
think you gotta put poor Heather out of her misery. Jesus. That
well,
girl.
I mean, she did die.
I'm not saying she didn't, but it's like, look, she was a wreck, Joe. It was a nightmare towards the end.
I'm really trying to keep this from becoming too problematic.
I was just saying.
I frankly, I think it's kind of a toss-up because both women deserve to be retconned. I think that Gloriana, her past as a weird IRA coyote to bring IRA agents from Ireland to the States is a bizarre part of her backstory.
Oh, sure.
But she's also unceremoniously killed many issues after she had anything to do with Daredevil or Foggy.
Yeah.
A supervillain throws her out a window.
Retcon that shit. That's not come on. Well, she didn't deserve
that's what,
that.
And I'm saying, I think I would retcon Heather Glenn as never happening at all because I don't really have any affinity for the character.
I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, poor Heather.
Is that bad?
I would say let's put poor Heather out of her misery.
I think all right, then I would retcon Heather into a character that is able to maybe handle her addictive behavior a little bit more capably.
So then you're going to kill Gloriana?
Listen, man.
Gloriana didn't deserve to be killed, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying anyone deserves it. But in this situation, if I've got to pick one, she was the train wreck.
Do you see the problem with the game you've chosen for us to play?
Yes, it's a problematic game, Joe, but it's all in good fun, and none of these people exist. All right? We're not talking about anybody's kids.
Either one of them does.
We're not hey, let's talk about your best friend's kids. Which one would you marry, fucking kill?
Okay. I'm going to kill Gloriana because she is a footnote in the life of Daredevil.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll take that.
And I'm going to retcon Heather because she was an important part of his life and she deserved better.
That's almost even more sinister than where I was going, but I'll take it.
I mean, look, neither one of them
kill her. She
deserved to
barely
die,
counts. That was fun.
No, it was not fun.
That was fun. Now that we've established Matt Murdock is the worst boyfriend ever, and I mean like date Galactus, date the
it's
Rhino.
Not even close. Sabretooth is the worst boyfriend, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's eating people's guts, so I don't know.
Toss up, I'm saying it's toss up.
It's time to have the THN Sanctum Sanctorum to look at what the dock workers will be unloading off the comic barges next week and make our must-read picks for next new comic book day, February 2nd. Highlights from next week. Michael Avon Oeming's Blue Book returns with Blue Book 1947, #1 from Dark Horse. Sinister Sons, #1 hits the stand, starring Zod and Sinestro's kids. The one with Zod's kid with the bad hair is going to be there. He looks a little younger.
The Sinestro's kid also has bad hair.
Oh, yeah, they got terrible hair. Sweetie Candy Vigilante is back at Dynamite with Volume 2, Joe. You're excited about
Thank
that.
God.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are back together in a new 3-issue mini by Orlando and Tometa, the team on the regular Scarlet Witch, so it's going to be fun. And we can't have a new comic book day without My Isekai Life. I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world. Volume 11, the graphic novel. Joe Patrick, are any of these exciting titles your must-read pick for next week?
Well, I demand to know what the sales are like for My Isekai Life. I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world.
I'll bet
volumes
it sells
1 through 10.
I'll bet it sells more than Batman. Honestly.
Yeah, Jim, the bat signal has been lit. My pick for next week, there could not be anything other than Night Thrasher #1. My boy, he's back.
Oh boy.
He's from Marvel Comics. It's written by Jay Holtham, who I do not know.
Nope.
Art by Nelson Daniel, whose art I have seen.
Yes, he's good.
It's 40 pages for $4.99. Here is your solicit. Oh boy, I regret this already. Mm-hmm. It's time to thrash the night.
Yep.
The death of a loved one draws Dwayne Taylor back to New York City, though his days as Night Thrasher are long over. But Dwayne finds the past difficult to outrun when Silhouette, his ex-teammate from the New Warriors, and his ex-girlfriend,
Hey-o.
seeks his help against a new criminal called the OG. And the mystery of the OG's true identity and what's to come will change Night Thrasher's legacy forever.
I'm going to guess he's the original gangster, Joe.
Now, don't make fun. Don't miss this bold new direction for a cult classic character who is leaving the 90s behind him. Let me tell you what, Fabian Nicieza, co-creator of the New Warriors, had some thoughts about this tagline about leaving the 90s behind him.
Yeah, he was not happy with it.
Not pleased.
Nope.
If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that I am a tremendous fan of that run of New Warriors and Night Thrasher, a character who looks like kind of a joke, sounds like he should be a joke. He's definitely not a joke. Night Thrasher is cool. Silhouette is cool. I'm excited for this. I do not know this writer at all. But hey.
You know what?
I got to support it.
Joe Patrick, and you got a friend that's going to support you when you have to give this book a low skim it, and I give it a leave it. So, we'll see.
Hey, I want it to be great.
I know you want it to be great. My pick for next week goes to Dutch, #1, 32 pages, $3.99 from Image. It's written by Joe Casey with art by either Simon Gain or Simone Gagne. I don't know. Here's your solicit.
Simon Gain. Come on,
Probably. Here's your solicit mini-series premiere. Thanks, Image. The legendary 90s super soldier returns for an all-new adventure. An enemy from the past has forced Dutch back into the belly of the beast, but that's beast-but. Will his not the belly of the beast, but so
the belly of the beast, but
to avoid any confusion there. But will his former teammates welcome him back, or will a cybernetic kill team get to him first? It's balls to the wall action from the team of Casey and Gain, plus an exclusive variant cover by legendary Dutch creator Chap Yape, or Yape. I've never
really
known
don't know
how
how to say that name. I'm sorry.
Never
Chap.
have. So a lot of people are
I mean, I call him Chap Yap.
Dutch? Like, who is this Dutch character? Well, Dutch hasn't been around for almost 30 years. There was a Dutch Zero last November that we missed. Dutch,
Was there?
his first appearance was Team Youngblood in 1993. Dutch is a completely throwaway character that was like thrown on to the Youngblood extended book by this creator that Joe Casey reached out and said, hey, 90s are back. People are having fun with it. I have a completely nutso idea for this massive world-spanning story I want to tell with
Now, hold on.
Dutch.
Do you think Joe Casey reached out? Or do you think somebody went to Joe Casey?
He says in these interviews that he was like,
Okay.
yeah, I wanted to do it with like some crazy. And I think he mentioned like Prophet, what Image did with Prophet not too long ago, where Brandon Graham, like took Prophet and turned it into this amazing sci-fi epic, which you should definitely read. It's incredible.
There was a whole line of like Extreme Universe reimagining
Yeah.
Glory.
This is very much in that spirit, and it looks incredible. And look, I think you should all go to Image Fandom and look up Dutch. He is one dumb looking character back in the 90s. This looks.
Oh, is he one of the guys? Is he one of the guys with the dual antennas?
Oh, yeah.
Whipping from.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Real name
Liefeld staple.
Jake Holland. I'll link you so you can have a look at our friend Jake here. You're not going to recognize him because he's so just
He obviously
90s.
looks different in the new comic.
No, but I mean, like back, you won't recognize him from the 90s because he's just so plain old Rob
Forgettable.
Liefeld V2, like type character.
I mean, I do recognize him. Oh God, look at that gun.
Oh yeah. It's terrible. So I'm excited. I love it when they take this stupid, like nothing throwaway character and do something amazing with them. You've got me. I am on board.
That is a bad drawing.
Oh yeah. I can't wait.
Why does he have? Okay.
Look,
Hold on.
no
I gotta
matter
close
what
the-
you're about to ask, the answer is the 90s, Joe. That's
Sure.
the answer.
I don't understand the purpose of having two headsets.
Not to mention the fact that, like, if you think about the Secret Service at this time, they had in-ears and microphones that were so much smaller than when any of these futuristic
Hidden, you might
idiots
say.
were wearing.
Yeah. I mean, they both have little microphones. What's he doing? What's he
who
doing?
knows?
All right.
The 90s, Joe. He's doing the 90s. There you go.
Look, I like Joe Casey, so I'm all for it. The THN must-read trade for next week is Conan the Barbarian, Volume 1, bound in Blackstone. It's a trade paperback from Titan Comics. It's written by Jim Zub. It's hilarious. If you Google it, the Diamond site credits this to some artist named Guillermo Zub something. It's like it's way as wrong as it could possibly be. And if you look at it, you're like, is that what Jim Zub's name is short for? Jim Zub is a white boy from America. His name is Jim Zubkovich. The art here is by Roberto Della Torre and Various. We're big fans. It's 128 pages for $17.99.
We like some of Various's work. We don't like it all.
Well, look, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Our love
Here's
varies for Various.
Here's your solicit. Robert E. Howard's legendary Conan is back in a new tale of bravery and heroism. Years after the Battle of Venarium, a weary Conan returns to his homeland to seek rest and solitude. Cimmeria, by the way, is homeland. However, a mysterious scout rides in to warn the Cimmerians of an imminent threat on the march from the Pictish wilderness. Will Conan and his new ally be able to hold off this new horde of invaders?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I have not read any of the Titan Conan. This is my chance to do it. I want to check it out. I want to give it a shot. Wooly Toots, he's our Conan expert. He's about 50-50
He's lukewarm on it, but
Yeah.
he is lukewarm. He's very picky about his Conan.
He is.
And I get it. He's a super fan.
We might love it. Who knows?
For a more casual fan, it might be good, and it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Every Wednesday, Joe and I are the first two down at the riverside on the docks, watching the big hairy men with big hairy ropes pulling the comic barges so we can grab our picks. But I get it. If you can't make it down to the riverfront, be sure to pre-order your picks before heading out to the comic shop. Check out our Discord New Comics channel to discuss all the new stuff you're reading, and tune in next week to our new comic show so you can hear our reviews of these picks.
Excelsior! Oh.
That is it for THN 729. Next time, we are back to reviewing new comics. We're going to give you a taste of our Patreon Extra, too. And if you can't get enough of this Valentine's-inspired THN stuff, join us for the THN Gang Hang Saturdays at 11 o'clock Central. Check out our Discord for more details on that. Joe Patrick, what else can the listeners do at our Discord?
Perhaps you want to get the latest scoop about billionaire trash bag Elon Musk funding transphobic knuckle dragger Gina Carano's lawsuit against Disney.
Congratulations, you're the king of the trolls. You've done it.
Yeah,
you know?
Wow.
What a great thing to be remembered by, Elon.
You might need some help deciphering just what the hell is happening in the first chapter of this week's Joker Year 1. I know I do. Or maybe you just want to discuss our question of the week. This week's question. Much like Virginia, the ziggurat is for lovers, and that feeling of l'amour has even affected the question of the week. Sort of. We want to know what gets your vote for the worst fictional romance. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be one that you personally hate, though it could be.
Sure.
It just needs to be one that was terrible or ill-advised for everyone involved. Like Matt and Mila, or
Perfect.
Matt and Karen, or
anyone Matt's ever dated.
Or, yeah. Please keep your question of the week suggestions coming and sign up for our Discord with the link at twoheadednerd.com/Discord. Once you get in, you can post about any of our segments there or send an MP3 submission for the Comic Pushkers, Ask a Nerd, or whatever to twoheadednerd@gmail.com, and we will put you on the show. Important note about the Discord, it came up today. We do need to kind of give you permissions to do certain things, like go into the voice chat. So get in there, participate, prove you're not a jerk, because we have a no jerks allowed policy.
It's true. If you're new to this show and you're considering hiring a villainess to date the both of us and tear our hearts out in an attempt to end it, I assure you, it's only because you haven't heard enough. The good news is...
We probably do have it coming, though.
You can hear the entire run of THN in our digital longbox archive at twoheadednerd.com. THN is a listener-supported podcast. It would not be possible without the generosity of donors like our patron, Jay Mindeman, or is it Jay Mindy Man? Which sounds like somebody
Yeah,
who like...
it's the mighty Mindy Man.
I am Mindy Man! If you like what you hear every week, it's easy to support the show. You can sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/twoheadednerd. And don't force us to send Mindy Man after you to make you do it, all right?
I'll get you next time, Mindy Man.
He's like our purple man. He's great.
Oh, no, I thought he was a good guy. Sorry.
No, he's a bad guy. Mindy Man? No way that guy's good.
I mean, he gives us money. How bad could it be?
No, he forces people to give us money. That's evil.
Oh, okay. What?
Yeah.
Well, maybe let's not spread that around. Before we go, our weekly shout out goes to Black Panther fans everywhere. This week, Marvel's distributor Penguin Random House announced that they quote unquote lost thousands of copies.
12,000 from what we heard.
12,000 copies of Ultimate Black Panther #1. So even if you did the right thing and pre-ordered it, you might not be getting yours. Say what you will about Diamond Comics, I don't remember them losing half of a print run. Sometimes things were late or came packaged with empty chocolate wrappers, but that's a whole different problem.
How do you lose 12,000 of anything? I don't care what
maybe,
it is.
Maybe the harbor, and maybe their harbor emptied out into the sea.
Yeah, one of their barge sank, I'm sure.
Yeah, their barge sank. Where do you Black Panther fans? And we hope you get your second printing already in the works because of this very debacle.
Do not pay $80 for this, you guys. Don't.
It's
do it.
Immediately being scalped online.
Don't do it. Until next time, true relievers, Remember to pre-order your comics, or your retailer might just lose your stack in the river. This is the Two-Headed Nerd, signing off.
I'd like to see my retailer try to sink my barge.
Oh, that sounds gross when you say it like that.